Welcome to Quick Kill Chronicles podcast. I'm Alex Iverson.
And I'm Alicia Iverson.
Our focus today is on a truly remarkable development in a long-standing cold case, the 1985 murder of Tonya McKinley in Pensacola, Florida. After 35 really agonizing years, an arrest has finally been made. And this is largely thanks to some pioneering forensic techniques involving genetic genealogy and targeted DNA collection.
Indeed. And this breakthrough, Alex, it really prompts a crucial discussion. Our central question for this session is this. Does the methodology used in solving the Tonya McKinley case, specifically, relying on genetic genealogy to identify a suspect and then the subsequent, surreptitious collection of their DNA, does it primarily represent a definitive triumph of justice through innovative science? Or does it maybe highlight an effective, yes, but complex investigative tool that kind of opens unique avenues for legal scrutiny on the ultimate path to conviction?
And I'll be arguing for the method's clear success here, viewing it as a monumental step forward for justice.
And I'll be delving into the complexities, maybe the potential for scrutiny inherent in this multi-stage investigative process. I want to emphasize that while it's an undeniable breakthrough for identification, the journey to a definitive conviction, well, it might still face some significant challenges.
Okay, before we dive deeper, maybe it's helpful just to clarify these terms quickly for our listeners. When we talk about genetic genealogy, we're basically referring to a technique that uses publicly submitted DNA, often from, family tree databases, to find distant relatives of an unknown suspect. Investigators then have to meticulously construct a family tree to narrow down potential perpetrators.
Right. And surreptitious DNA collection, that just means obtaining a suspect's genetic material from something they discarded, like a cigarette butt, as in this case, without their direct knowledge or consent, though it's typically conducted within established legal parameters.
Exactly. So now to my position. The arrest of Daniel Wells for the 1985 murder of Tonya McKinley, in my view, it's nothing short of a monumental success for justice. This achievement is directly attributable to the persistent application of cutting-edge forensic science and, importantly, renewed investigative efforts that ultimately yielded a direct DNA match to the killer. Let's not forget the profound tragedy at the heart of this. Tonya McKinley, just 23 years old, found strangled and sexually assaulted on New Year's Day 1985. She left behind an 18-month-old son, Timothy Davidson Jr. Her partially nude body was found on the side of Peacock Drive. She was last seen at Daryl's Bar and Grill around 1:30 a.m. Now, despite having, quote, a good bit of physical evidence and dozens of interviews, the case went unsolved for 35 years.
35 years. It's staggering.
It is. The breakthrough arrived when DNA evidence found near McKinley's body was compared against these open-source genealogy databases. This led police to several distant cousins of the eventual suspect, Daniel Wells. Authorities then meticulously built a family tree, which eventually led them directly to Mr. Wells. And here's the crucial, definitive step. Police initiated surveillance on Wells and successfully collected DNA evidence from a cigarette butt he discarded. This DNA unequivocally directly matched the DNA of McKinley's killer. This method revived a seemingly unsolvable case, bringing immense relief and a sense of progress to the family. Tonya's sister, Renee, expressed disbelief, stating she didn't really know if this arrest would ever happen, not after 35 years. Her son, Timothy Davidson Jr., told the Daily Beast he was happy at the news and stated, "Nothing could ever make up for losing my mom, but at least now we know what happened to her." And this innovative approach, well, it mirrors the successful methodology used in the infamous Golden State Killer cases, demonstrating its proven efficacy in cold case resolution. The direct DNA match, enabled by this advanced investigative sequence, provides compelling evidence for the arrest. It marks a significant victory for victims and law enforcement in the pursuit of long-delayed justice.
Okay, Alex, I absolutely acknowledge the immense gravity of Tonya McKinley's murder and the enduring pain her family has suffered. That police statement, a baby boy grew up without a mother and a killer was walking around free, it truly underscores the tragedy here. However, while Daniel Wells' arrest is undoubtedly a significant development, I frame it from a slightly different perspective. This intricate, multi-stage investigative process involving genetic genealogy and then that surreptitious DNA collection, even though legally permissible, it introduces complexities that I think warrant careful consideration. This process highlights a critical distinction between suspect identification and the ultimate path to definitive conviction, especially, as you said, in a case spanning 35 years. Think about the initial DNA match. It wasn't to the suspect directly, right? It was to distant cousins within public databases. This necessitated a really laborious process of constructing a family tree to narrow down potential male relatives who lived near the crime scene, eventually identifying Wells. Then there's the method of collection for the direct DNA match from that discarded cigarette butt during surveillance. Now, while legally permissible, this surreptitious collection, well, it introduces an additional step in the evidence chain, and that step could be subjected to rigorous scrutiny regarding chain of custody and, the potential for uncontaminated collection. Pensacola police might declare the case solved with an arrest, but Timothy Davidson Jr. himself stated he would only feel complete when there is a conviction and justice has been served. That really underscores that the journey from an arrest via these novel methods to a definitive conviction, well, it can be complex.
Okay, but complexity doesn't negate the result.
Well, let me finish this point. The historical context is also crucial. The case dates back 35 years. The intervening decades mean original physical evidence might be degraded or difficult to re-examine, placing greater emphasis on the integrity of each step in this multi-stage DNA process. Furthermore, while it's not direct evidence of the McKinley murder, Wells did have prior arrests within 3 years of McKinley's death for battery and soliciting a prostitute, pleading no contest to the battery charge. Now, this background information, it could certainly become a point of contention regarding its relevance or potential for bias in later legal proceedings. So, while this methodology is a powerful investigative tool for identifying suspects, I maintain that the multi-layered process, from distant familial links to surreptitious collection, adds complexities. These require meticulous verification and may present unique challenges during the legal proceedings, differentiating it from more traditional direct forensic matches.
This episode of the CMS Network is brought to you by our sponsor, Blackout Coffee. If you are a coffee lover, you will love what they are selling over at Blackout Coffee. Make sure you get yourself some. The only thing woke about this company is the drinker of the coffee, because it gives you quite a jolt. I am a personal fan of the Brutal Awakening Dark Roast, but everybody's a little bit different. Make sure you get what is your favorite today. Go to blackoutcoffee.com. Use the promo code CHRIA20 to save 20% on your first order. It's that simple. So one more time, blackoutcoffee.com. That is the link, or use the full link if you're going to shop around, that is scrolling on the bottom, and get yourself some of the best coffee that is out there today. blackoutcoffee.com.
You emphasize the investigative pathways complexities, Alicia, but when we look at the undeniable direct DNA match between Wells' discarded cigarette and the crime scene evidence, doesn't that render the earlier investigative steps largely, well, maybe not irrelevant, but secondary to the forensic certainty of the arrest? We're talking about irrefutable evidence here, not just probabilistic links. Genetic genealogy provided the lead, absolutely, but the proof for the arrest is that direct, one-to-one scientific match. It unequivocally connects Wells to the murder and provides the necessary grounds for a first-degree murder and sexual battery charge. The journey to the lead, I argue, doesn't diminish the scientific certainty of that final, conclusive match.
The lead came from open-source genealogy databases, right? Not a direct hit from a criminal database like CODIS, the Combined DNA Index System, which primarily houses DNA from convicted offenders and arrestees. That distinction is crucial. This pathway, starting from distant relatives and constructing a family tree, it's qualitatively different. It relies on the voluntary submission of private genetic data by third parties. The specific process of how this initial lead was generated and narrowed down, that could absolutely be a point of forensic and legal contention. For a case this old, Alex, every detail, every single step in that chain will be scrutinized by the defense, not just the last one. They'll probe the integrity of the entire chain, from that initial database search through the genealogical analysis, all the way to the eventual collection of that cigarette.
But Alicia, look at what this means in practice. This case exemplifies how law enforcement is adapting, how they're leveraging new technologies to solve previously intractable cold cases. It's bringing desperately sought closure to victims' families who thought justice would never ever come. This combination of genetic genealogy with diligent surveillance, culminating in that direct DNA match, it represents a justifiable and frankly necessary evolution in forensic investigation. It demonstrates that the pursuit of justice can overcome decades of obstacles. Pensacola police confirmed they never gave up, and this method allowed them to push past the cold trail that had stymied them for so long. The efficacy for securing an arrest and progressing justice seems incredibly clear to me.
I agree. These techniques are undeniably powerful for identification. I'm not disputing that. But the very novelty you celebrate, Alex, actually opens up new avenues for legal challenge. From the initial database search to the eventual collection of a discarded item, the multi-stage nature of this process is, well, it's ripe for scrutiny. We're talking about issues like the privacy concerns surrounding public genealogy databases, a huge topic right now. We're talking about the statistical interpretation of those familial links used to narrow the search, the chain of custody for surreptitiously collected DNA, and the cumulative implications of a 35-year gap on all existing evidence. These will all likely be raised by the defense. The process, while effective for an arrest, is not without its complexities that could be challenged during a trial, especially as court precedent on these evolving methods is still developing.
We're in somewhat uncharted territory for some of these legal arguments, wouldn't you say?
Perhaps uncharted, but navigated successfully here to reach an arrest based on solid science. For law enforcement, and perhaps more importantly for the victim's family, the identification and arrest of an alleged perpetrator after 35 years is a significant resolution. It's a solved case in the practical sense, transitioning from an unknown offender to a named suspect directly linked by DNA evidence. Police statements highlight the profound emotional significance, noting a killer was walking around free and emphasizing the family's long wait for justice. This arrest is the culmination of, as they said, 3 generations of detectives working on the case, finally providing tangible progress. To them, it is profoundly solved.
I understand that perspective, Alex, particularly the emotional relief for the family. It's immense, no doubt. But from a legal and maybe a definitional standpoint, isn't declaring a case solved at the point of arrest, even with DNA evidence, a bit premature? Timothy Davidson Jr.'s own words that he would only feel complete when there is a conviction truly underscore this distinction. The complexities of this investigative method, combined with the 35-year passage of time, mean the legal process still has significant hurdles. Consider what it truly means for law enforcement resources. While an arrest closes the investigative phase, it shifts the burden and resources towards prosecution. Declaring it solved might inadvertently suggest the work is done, when in fact the most rigorous legal battle is just beginning. Furthermore, Daniel Wells' prior arrests for battery and soliciting a prostitute, while part of his historical record, they don't simplify the legal burden of proof for the 1985 murder itself. In fact, they might introduce complications, for the defense or jury selection, rather than making the conviction a foregone conclusion. A successful conviction requires overcoming these layers of scrutiny, not just making an arrest.
In sum, then, the successful application of genetic genealogy and targeted DNA collection in the Tonya McKinley case undeniably represents a triumph of investigative persistence and scientific innovation. It directly led to an arrest, providing a clear and robust path toward long-awaited justice after 35 years. The evidence for this arrest, culminating in that direct DNA match, is compelling and formidable, moving this cold case from the realm of the unsolvable into a tangible legal process.
And I'd say I agree. These innovative techniques hold immense value in identifying suspects in cold cases, offering hope where there really was none before. However, I must re-emphasize that the very complexity and multi-stage nature of the identification process, particularly with a 35-year gap, necessitates thorough legal review and a nuanced understanding of the full journey from that initial lead to a potential conviction. It's a powerful tool, absolutely, but one whose full legal implications are, I think, still being defined in the courts.
Ultimately, the case of Tonya McKinley powerfully illustrates the evolving landscape of criminal investigations. It shows the unwavering commitment to justice and highlights the ongoing dialogue between technological advancement and legal scrutiny.
Indeed. The source material shows the profound impact these cases have on families and the enduring pursuit of truth, and there is clearly much more to explore in the material regarding the full implications of such methods moving forward.
We definitely encourage you to delve deeper into these fascinating cases and more. Check out additional episodes of Quick Kill Chronicles on YouTube. Just search for Quick Kill Chronicles or head to https://www.youtube.com/Quick Kill Chronicles.
Thanks for joining us.
Welcome to the ultimate experience for hard rock and heavy metal fans. Introducing the CMS Locals VIP app, your #1 destination for all things on the CMS network. Dive into the classic metal show, Chris Akey Presents, Seth Williams Show, and more, all in one place. It's free to get started or elevate your experience with a subscription for just $4.99 a month. Go commercial-free, get advanced releases, and enjoy exclusive bonus episodes. Plus, it's the prime spot to chat with like-minded fans who love raw, uncensored commentary. Are you ready to rock? Download from your iOS or Android store, search for the CMS network, and join the community now. It's free, it's easy, and it's the best way to keep our shows with you every single day. Install the Locals.com app today and follow the CMS network.